It's a great honor to be here in a room full of such smart and well-dressed women, under a full moon, no less. To be honest, it's also an edge for me to be here. I am here to share a story that I never thought I would share publicly, and one that only 3 people in the world know about: my therapist, my fiance, and my spiritual teacher. But even more than tonight is an edge, it is a celebration. Perhaps even the biggest celebration of my life to date. For the insights that I'm here to share with you are the culmination of 20 years of deep inner work, both psychologically and spiritually. So the journey that I'm here to share is a snapshot into the past 4 years of my life, a heroine's journey, one that at times I did not think I would survive. But before I tell you this story, I first want to get clear on what is the heroine's journey. As Chantal said, defining emerging as coming into being through transformation. So it's important for us as women to understand that our path of transformation is different than a man's path. So we are all familiar with the hero's journey, stepping out of the unknown into an adventure, facing outer obstacles, and ultimately receiving accolades and achievements in the process. For us as women, our journey is an inner journey. And I feel that we live in a very lopsided world where the outer is prioritized much more than the inner. I have dedicated my personal and professional life to be a spokeswoman for a woman's inner world. So a heroine's journey is an inner journey into our bodies, into our psyches, and into our souls. So I invite you back with me now, 4 years ago. And lighting the candles on the way are 2 women who have helped me to get through these 4 years and to be able to be standing here today. The first is Jungian analyst, Marian Woodman. My body has a lot of energy in it. I have enough faith to believe that the feminine is forcing her way into consciousness by means of addiction. It changes lives, and it could change the whole culture. My teacher in feminine spiritual practice, Sophia Diaz. Your evolution is not measured by where you are totally together. The edge of your growth is what you do when you collapse. It's not enough for any of us to be holier than thou. Four years ago, I had a very interesting convergence of life experiences. First, a dream come true. I got a contract to write my first book, The Way of the Happy Woman. Just after that, my then live-in boyfriend broke up with me and moved out of our house. As if that were not bad enough, then my landlord told me that I also needed to move out of my house. So I had 6 months to write this book, and I had nowhere to live. I scrambled around Boulder, looking for an apartment to rent or even a place to sublet or stay, but every path I went down ended up being a dead end. So luckily, the grace of a girlfriend came into my life, and she invited me out to stay in a home that she owned in Ashland, Oregon. So I put everything I owned into storage, saved what I could pack into my car, and I drove out to Ashland, Oregon. Once I was there, and I settled in to write my book, I started to be besieged by inner demons. Who the hell do you think you are? You're too stupid to write a book. Nice try. Why don't you just save yourself the embarrassment? You fucking loser. Your life just fell apart. Who are you to tell women how to be happy? So as the days and the weeks progressed, as my book deadline got closer and closer, these inner voices got louder and louder and louder. The pressure started to build and build and build until my body and my psyche did the only things that they knew how to do when they were under that amount of pressure. So one sticky, still July evening, I locked the door to the house, I drew the blinds, and I gathered together all the materials that I needed for a proper goddess ritual. I lit a candle. I took out some dairy, some sweets, and some grains. And I started to eat and eat and eat. Beyond the point of fullness, beyond the point of self-control, beyond the point of sanity, beyond the beyond. And then I did what my teenage self knew so well. I did what I thought everything in my book had helped to heal. I went into the bathroom, I stuck my finger down my throat, and I threw up every last bit of it. As I started to come back into the bathroom, I went over to the sink, I washed the vomit off of my hands and off of my face, and I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were bloodshot and spilling with tears, and they were hollow and empty. And I looked into my reflection. I said, Sarah, what is happening to us? What is going on? And I thought, for sure, this is my end. This is my doomed destiny, like those great dames of literature whom I had admired as a young woman, like Sylvia Plath, who stuck her head in the oven, or Virginia Woolf, who drowned herself, or like my own grandmother, Leona, whom I never met, but who smashed the windows in my father's childhood home and slit her wrists with a razor blade. So I asked for help. I went to see my teacher, Sophia, and I told her what was going on. And here's what she said. Sarah, this is a hallelujah moment. This is what you've been practicing for all these years. This is the fruits of it. What? So I was not a failure. This was my greatest initiation as a woman, as a yogini, as a feminine leader yet. These things that I was writing about didn't make me a fraud. These very teachings created the foundation from which I could be strong enough in my root and expansive enough in my heart to hold this new amount of energy and responsibility that was pouring through me. And I realized, well, of course, the goddess had tried to come in through the front door, but there's a whole citadel in the front door of perfectionism, drivenness, a very narrow view of success. So she came around to the back door, padlocked, high security alarm system. She was not going to get into the back door with the breakup or the homelessness. So she came in the only way that she could, through a crack in the cellar door. from that place, I realized bulimia, this relapse, this is not the source of my greatest shame. This is actually the greatest blessing of my life so far. So 4 years later, I wrote that book. It was a bestseller on Amazon. It has helped thousands of women. I'm incredibly proud of it. I'm now engaged to the love of my life. And I've created a business that I love, that is based on sustainable feminine rhythms, that allows me time each day and each season to do my own depth work and to help other women to do the same. And last year, we brought in multiple six figures. But none of those outer successes would mean anything without the deep roots in the inner success that I now feel. I'm no longer negotiating between a constant inner civil war. I'm no longer fearing that I'll look over my shoulder and have one of my inner selves cut me off at the knees right when life starts to get really good. So what does this mean for all of us as emerging women at a power party? To know that we all need to go through some form of initiation on our paths of transformation to emerge. It also means we need to really investigate our ideas about power and how we're defining it. Like, what is feminine power? It's an answer that each of us needs to find within ourselves. So tonight, I invite you to go home in the dark, alone, and light a candle. Take out your journal and ask yourself, what challenges me? What do I do when I collapse? What secrets am I keeping for fear that they will ruin my reputation that I am working so hard to construct for the world? What is knocking on your cellar door that you need to pay attention to that might hold the key to your emergence? Sisters, to emerge, we have to descend. To lean in, we have to reach back and heal the parts of ourselves that we've squashed on the way up. To build our empires in the world, we have to first become sovereign in our own inner kingdoms. And when we do this, we know feminine strength. Of being able to stand in the tremble, of the ache and the ecstasy, of living our wounds as the source of our greatest power. About 9 months ago, on the night that the flood started in Boulder, I was having a phone consultation with my teacher, Sophia. And she gave me a practice to contemplate the Pleiades, or the seven sisters. It was kind of like a goddess koan for me, that I worked with and worked with and worked with. Like, what are these seven sisters? What do they have to do with me? And at the same time, I was really asking myself, what is feminine power? What is feminine power? And then, like all insights, it struck like lightning. The Pleiades, the seven sisters, are seven expressions of feminine power. And one of those that is the most disowned in this time, that is really needed by the world and for us to bring forth, is vulnerability. Feminine power is vulnerability. And as I was putting the finishing touches on this talk last week, actually an email came in from Sophia with a short poem in it that just made me say yes inside. I'm on the right track. And I want to share those words with you here tonight. I want to leave you with them. So as you receive the words, I invite you to lean back a little bit more in your chair, to relax into the support beneath you, to become more aware of this beautiful evening light than you are of the thoughts in your head. And take some deeper breaths, allowing your breath to soften your heart and fill your belly. Water over sword. Tears over strife. Preciousness over hopelessness. It's been a great honor to share with this community my heroine's homecoming. And I wish you each so much courage and grace on your own heroine's journey. Thank you so much.